So do you guys see me or just the PowerPoint?
We can see you as well on the side.
Okay, great.
Good.
I don't see that, so
All right.
I was just wondering. And then my up and down. So. Okay, well, I'm Cheryl Kozad. I've been a master gardener for about 9 years. I live in Butte Creek Canyon, and my 11 of my 12 acres burned, and we were able, with some of the things we've implemented in Firewise, landscaping and the decisions before we built our house up there. The house was defensible, thank goodness, and we had firefighters that were able to save it. So I was one of the lucky ones. And I wanted to find out from you, where do you guys stand? Are you building, were you from Paradise, or are you burned out and rebuilding, or do you have an existing landscape that you wanted to make more Firewise? Can you?
Well, my name's right under yours, so I'll go ahead and go first. And this is Liza. We live on Honeysuckle Lane down in the West Branch Canyon, and the Butte County Fire Safe Council used to come to our house to demonstrate what a well-managed forest looks like. My father was John Hanford, teacher at the intermediate school forever, and he would get done with his school teaching at 2:30 and come home and put on his overalls and pruning shears and chainsaw and all of that, clear out the underbrush, limb up the trees to a high level, and all of that. But the fire came so fast and hard up that canyon that a lot of the forest is indeed damaged, burned. Mom and myself, the house that I moved into when I was 5 was lost, as well as the house we built not just up the hill was also lost. So my brother has put a manufactured home where my mom's garage used to be, and we are currently in the process of rebuilding our house as well. So we were hoping to be in by Thanksgiving, but it's now looking more like Christmas. So we are in the process of rebuilding. The 4.5 acre parcel that we have is pretty much denuded of trees now. They were mostly burned. We do, however, as we slope down the canyon further towards my mom's house, there was an old irrigation ditch. And my father had planted a number of redwood trees adjacent to that ditch, and they are doing absolutely spectacularly. So
this brings up a really important point, that you can do Firewise landscaping, but you can't totally protect your property from fire. You can do all the things right and still might not be enough. And in the Paradise fire, it was not enough for many, many people. I'm sorry for your experience there. And Carol, are you a person starting from scratch with your land, or you have an existing landscape you wanted to make more Firewise? What? Can you unmute or let us know where you're coming from? Nope. Okay.
Is there anybody else? Sounds like a few more people.
Carol is still on mute, so I'm not sure she's clicked off her mute button. It looked like she was trying to talk.
Okay.
So we have a few other folks, Liz, Grace. And so if there's anybody else who would like to just take a moment to share where you're at and what your situation is before we get started, that would be great.
Just a couple of heads up words, so I know if you're from scratch or if you're recovering fire person.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Grace, and I'm calling from British Columbia, from the Sunshine Coast.
Wow.
And I'm very interested in fire precaution because, well, as you know, BC was on fire this past summer. And anything that I can do to mitigate the chances of a property is burning, you know, I would like to do that. I'm a gardener, landscaper.
Oh, excellent. Great.
Thank you.
Well, I'm gonna get started here then. Just thank you for your sharing.
You're welcome.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we have other folks outside of Reading also.
Okay.
Okay, so let me clear the screen here so we can go ahead. So we're kind of new to Zoom, but we're learning our way along. There we go. All right, go ahead.
That's not working.
Okay, use this.
Okay. Okay, so what I had thought today is doing a landscape plan, and it sounds like several of you are may be interested in doing one from scratch, is a big deal. What I thought I'd do in the few minutes that we have this morning is just show you a bunch of tools that could be useful to you in your project, and then you can take your leisure time to explore them. There are some really good things out there. One of the things that I use when I want to get something done in my life, and landscaping is one of the things, is I use something called a WOOP, and it's a way of thinking through a project so that you actually leads you through what is it that you want to accomplish, what would it look like if you did it, what are the obstacles that are getting in your way. And I think this is a critical part of any kind of plan. It does not work very well in my life to just set up a to-do list. What I really need is my to-do list with an idea of how I'd get it done, and a way to push through the obstacles to that. So obstacles are very important in your plan of your getting your landscape from a dream to actually in the ground, because you can problem solve each one of those. This could be information, which we'll cover a little bit this morning. Attachment, there may be things in your existing landscape that are really, really hard to change because you like them so much. Time, energy, money, aesthetic concerns, all of these things are obstacles that could be in your way to moving forward with your plan. They would need to be addressed. So then the other thing is we'll be talking about just getting a sniff of actionable steps that you might take to create a more Firewise landscaping where you are. So if you would, right now, for the sake of this class, just think in terms of your landscape, your house, and pick one small area that you want to kind of think through. I'm going to lead you through some questions to crystallize what it is that you want to go and how you want to get there. So if you think of one small area, don't overthink it, just pick something. And during the course of this talk, we will do an overlay of the zone of defensible space. Zone 1, where it's non-combustible, zone 2, where it's lean, clean, and green, and zone 3, where you're working on fuel reduction. For each of these, we'll cover a couple of things that you can do to make your plan fire safe or fire protect worthy. On the objectives, here are some clarifying questions for you to roll through your mind as we're moving through your area. I put this as number 7, but it comes out with number 1, and I did not change that because the first one is budget concerns for the conversions. Are you on a really low budget? Are you going to be working on bartering for plants and labor? Do you have to keep the area small and work on it over a period of years? What is the budget for your conversion? Can you just bring in a team and boom, you're done? In this area that you've selected, what's the function of it? Because all landscapes start from functionality. They work in your life to do something. Is this the area in back of your house where you have children playing, and or an entertainment area where you look to have barbecues and wine tastings? Is it the front of your house that you want to make more welcoming, or a place where you want to sit and visit with the neighbors? What is the function of the area that you're selecting? What functions do you want to build into that area? Could be you selected the side yard and you want the places for the trash cans not to be too much of an eyesore. What is the visual impact that you're drawn to in when you look at other people's landscapes, you look in magazines? What is the visuals that pull you in? Do you love the bright colors of purples and oranges and yellows all mixed together in an abundant riot? Or are you a person who prefers a more controlled palette with grays, greens, possibly a night garden with white blooming plants, or a mixture of quiet evergreens and a few pops of color? When you decide on this one, be firm with yourself that you keep to that, because your landscape will be more impactful if you have thought through what your leanings are and don't mix them up too much. Where are you on the Firewise compliant continuum? Is this something that is a passion for you? You really want to do all you can, or something that you're just looking to modify a few things just so that the house doesn't quite turn quite into toast so fast? What's your leaning, formal to casual? Are you a person who likes contemporary structural gardens or casual gardens? Are you leaning towards the English cottage garden look with a lot of colorful perennials, or formal structured gardens? Are you a curvy person or a square and rectangular person? So these are decisions that you will make now before you get it on paper, and then follow through with that theme. It will give your landscaping more cohesion. Do you like manicured or wild spaces? Are you planning on clipping them like topiary, or free-flowing, massed and abundant? And how much work do you want to put into your garden once it's established to maintain it? This would influence the kinds of plants that you select. Generally, plants that are very fast growers are higher maintenance because they require more trimming. So we're going to take this overlay of the zones and put it on our landscaping ideas. And then I'm going to show you some sites, some really wonderful sites that have been developed in California in the Sonoma area by the Sonoma Marin Water Saving Partnership. They've come up with design templates and an enormous amount of information on how to implement it. And these can be used and modified to meet your own situation. Okay, let's talk about the zones. Defensible zone number 1, it's next to the house and the first 5 feet around it, or any other structure. That's your defensible zone. This is the no combustible materials zone. In this zone, you want to remove overhanging trees. So think through your landscape plan. Do you have in this area any trees that are too close to the house? That could interfere with the foundation as well. If they're in the 5-foot zone, you probably want to take them out anyway. But if there are branches that are coming from further away but are still hanging over the building, those could be limbed back. In this area, use non-flammable mulches like stone or gravel, decomposed granite. If you must or really are wanting to have bark, do it so that it's non-contiguous, and use the larger bark. Is a little less flammable than the really finely shredded walk-on bark. So if you do want to have bark around your plants, because let's face it, Chico gets pretty hot, and those plants could toast if you've got rocks retaining the direct sun heat. at the base of your house. So you can put some other mulch right around the plants and rocks between those, spacing the plants out a little bit to get your non-combustible area or low combustible area. Plants in this area should also be smaller, like maybe 2 feet if you need plants right up against your building, and have a high moisture content. I put this slide in here because it's an attractive look. There's a lot going on, but this is all things that would be in the non-combustible 5 feet area of your house. There's a mixture of stones and gravels giving different textures so you don't have a mass of something feeling rather sterile. The plants here are kept under 2 feet, and they have selected a palette. So in the zone from 5 to 30 feet, this is your lean, clean, and green zone. In this zone, the plants are spaced. One thing you can do with the plants is space them so that they're non-contiguous. There's a little bit of space. They don't ignite each other. Think about how easy it is for a fire to move from things when they touch. Move them away from each other and they're more isolated. It's less easy for the fire to spread. Clean is a maintenance issue. And you can see on this slide that this could use a little bit more cleanup. This is from the UC Davis Arboretum, and I'll talk a little bit more about them as a resource for landscape designing. This plant could use some trimming to be clean and more fire safe. But the big shrubs are non-contiguous, or small trees, big shrubs. Anyway, and the areas are kept well watered. So that's your 5 to 30 foot zone around your house. You can have more abundant looking plants, but space them, keep them cleaned up and watered. There's another more structural contemporary look with the spacing of plants. You'll notice that these little shrubby plants all are they're spread away from each other. There's no laddering possible between these little shrub guys, which are under 2 feet, and the tree that's laddered up above them. And this kind of spacing, Firewise spacing, takes, for some people, maybe some getting used to, but it has ultimately some very pleasing structural elements. You can really notice the plants that you've chosen. Hardscape can slow down the spread of fire. Use it strategically in your landscape design. Big swatches of patio, decomposed granite, paths, stone walls. These are all elements that will add to the protection of your property. So you'll be building those into your landscape design. Win-win. So in zone 3, that's 30 feet to 100 feet from your house. This is an area where you want to do fuel reduction. You can do it by keeping the branches of trees in this area open and branching, trim out the cross branches here and leave some open structure. It's very pleasing when it's kind of work to do it initially, but it's pleasing when you've done it. You can get the visual impact of being in trees and not have the visual impact of being closed in. And the other thing is to ladder the trees 10 to 12 feet here, so that there won't be a laddering effect of fire moving up the trunks of them until they get to the canopy where the smaller leaves are. Okay, in the 30 to 100 foot zone, you're going to be looking at a horizontal spacing. So that's a space between the plants. These evergreens are non-contiguous. And the other way you can get non-contiguous plants, if you want to have them more massed, is to use planting islands. This would be an area where you have a batch of plants of different forms that would be inside walkways or surrounded by patios. That gives you planted islands where the fire would not travel so swiftly. And the other spacing you're looking for is the vertical spacing, from how far is the lower plant from the trees that you have. A rule of thumb is to put 3 times the height of the lower plant when you're laddering trees next to it. So a 2-foot shrub, the tree next to that would be laddered to 6 feet. This is an area that is, this border in the back of, after the grasslands is an area that's more than 100 feet from the house. In this area, the trees have been laddered to probably 12 feet, and a patio area, decomposed granite area, breaks up the grasslands. And these grasses are kept mowed. This is in the 30 to 100 foot range of my house. I'm going to talk, this is where a lot of people start when they're going to do landscaping plans. They start with, gosh, I really would love to have a dogwood outside my window, or I love bougainvilleas or something. Don't love bougainvilleas if you're in Chico. I love bougainvilleas, but it's an annual here. Anyway, so plant selection is the juicy stuff, but it comes after you've formulated the patios, the paths, and after you've formulated your zoning plan. Then you can look at the plants and make your selections. And I'm going to give you some things that are great tools. Right down here, this is again the Sonoma folks. There's a low, let's see, when I get that to come up. Okay, so this is a list of low and medium water plants. And here they have, let's see. Hey, this isn't a touch screen, Liz. Okay, so there's a low water master plant list, and you click on that. Wait, I'm going to go back. Wrong. Sorry, clicked in the wrong place or something. I have to get out of here, Joyce. Okay, so anyway, I'm not going to click through it because it's not working the same as my computer. So this was the little piece of a plant selection. These are low water plants. You can go into this site and click on the, first of all, the category, if you want a shrub or a tree or whatever, then click on the plant that you're interested in, and they will bring up this enormous amount of information, the kind of acidity of the soil, the drought needs of it, the water needs, the size that it is, the color, what season it has, which kinds of colors. Anyway, it's a very excellent site for getting the overview of what that plant can do for you, and I highly recommend it. It doesn't, however, have very low water plants, and I love this WORKSHEET list. This is the a master list, and there's a link at the end of this talk for you. And it does over here have, again, I'm going to run into, I can't touch screen this computer, so you'll have to just trust me on this. If you see, vaguely see, this is a buckeye at the top of the list here. And over here, the WORKSHEET rating for it is VL. That's a very low water use plant. So I pull up the WORKSHEET list, And I just go through looking for my it'll be batched into trees, shrubs, ground covers, vines, that sort of thing. So I go into first of all, I'll move through the tree list and then start with the larger shrubs and then smaller shrubs and then perennials and ground covers when I'm making a plant list for a site. So I select all the very low ones for my own use, but you can also have a much wider choice if you get to the low water use. And I'm going to encourage people in California generally, and with the climate change and where we live, to move in the direction of plants that don't consume a lot of water. I think you're going to be well served in the future if you do that. So I would like to move this out of here, but I'm afraid. Joyce, can you move this thing out off of my screen?
Move what?
This. So
I do not know how to do that.
okay, maybe they don't see it. I don't know if you guys see
They
that
don't
there are
see the
things.
bar.
Okay, you don't see the bar, then I will move through that. Okay, so there are characteristics of plants that are fire resistant. They maintain a high moisture content with limited water. They have low levels of volatile oils and resins. They produce little dead or fine material. And they have open, loose, or branching habits. Contrast this with, think of like a eucalyptus or a juniper. Junipers are notorious for retaining a lot of dead matter in their interior. They're also volatile. They have a lot of volatile substances. If you touch their leaves, they're sticky and have a big smell to them, as do eucalyptus. These are really strongly smelling plants. Often they're in this category. They produce a lot of volume of litter. Think of a eucalyptus tree and how it shreds its bark and leaves it lying on the ground in big slabs, big tinder slabs. So I found the site that I found was really a nice one to drive home the point that there are alternatives to plants that you might really like to have, but that aren't probably going to serve your purpose for Firewise plants. And this site really drove it home in this way. They'd have, for example, a salt bush, an atriplex here on the left-hand side is an evergreen plant. It has the same rough general shape as a sagebrush plant, Artemisia, but Artemisia has a lot tendency to gather up a lot of dead material on its inside. So this salt bush would get a higher rating on being a better choice for a Firewise landscape. When you're doing your landscape plan, think in terms of the functionality of the plant. Like instead of settling on what exact plant you want, think of what it's going to do. I want a plant that's 3 feet tall that will be on the border of the patio and have blue flowers. Then you use your plant databases to search for a plant that will have the watering needs and the fire needs and the deer needs and all those other parameters that will, and put that plant in your plant. You will have a happier plant in the long run. For example, in this situation, there is someone wanted a 3-foot pie perennial that has purple flowers. Well, their choices were Rocky Mountain penstemon for one, and the Russian sage. The Russian sage has flammable oils, and so they would choose the Rocky Mountain penstemon for their application. Again, ground covers, an evergreen ground cover, creeping juniper has the same rough growing pattern is the autumn amber sumac, but this one has a higher Firewise score, again, because of small leaves and dead material on the inside of the juniper, and it also contains more resins. I mentioned the UC Davis planting, the botanical garden there. You can go take a field trip, walk through it and see what things look like on their maturity. And they also have several planting guides that you can just pull up on the internet and use for your own self. You can say, okay, this looks good to me, Ray Hartman, that's fine. Pine mully, that's a deer grass. And I really like deer grass, and it's it's fairly drought tolerant, and okay, and this one, then here's a ceanothus. If you don't like these particular plants, you can take what they are, go into your plant database and select one that you prefer, and then pop it into the plan as roughly the same shape and growing pattern kind of plant. So that's one way that you can use established planting charts to tailor them to your own site. And it's kind of fun to do that. And you look like a pro. Okay, so the residential landscape design templates for fire rebuilding. This is an incredible site. I think some of you have been to my talk that I gave previously where I showed you some of the things that this does. I'll just give you a heads up and let you explore on your own. They've done 4 different plans, one focusing on native and fire safer plants. It's called the Sonoma Native Adaptive Plan. They have a Sonoma Eco-Edible Plan, which focuses on edible landscaping. The Sonoma Contemporary, that's more clean and structural and sculptural and easy to maintain. And the Sonoma Cottage Garden Plan that has a wide appeal. Here's an example of the Cottage Garden Plan. You can see from these, oh, here I go. I won't be able to zoom in again. I have to make it up. But these 1, 2, 3, 4 notations here, they're referring essentially to the functionality in your landscape. For example, these people wanted a place for the kids to play, so they put in a lawn and then added another area for runaround space with logs for the kids to jump around on. They wanted some edible gardens, so they built in beds, raised beds on the back border of their place. They wanted a place to sit out and visit with the neighbors in front of their house, so they have a sitting area in front. And they have also put in a gray water system and a rainwater system. This right here in the front of their house is a rain catchment system that is used because they had drainage issues, and instead of sending it all into the sewer system, they made an on-site rain garden. So this is where what a plan looks like when you have put your functionality list and then you start placing it around your house. They have a patio area that's off a spa where they can sit out and have dinner in the evening. They have trails and paths that go around their house. They give them access to all sides of the house, and a utilitarian area where they have put the garbage bins. So you can see how these wish list things have turned into a landscape plan. And this is what the architectural rendering of the plan looks like. Now, when you take the plan and you want to apply it to your own site, you can extrapolate from this rather than starting from scratch. It may be easier for some people, especially people who are highly visual like myself, to take an existing plan and say, I don't like that there's only 2 chairs, and make the patio bigger. I don't like that it's so exposed to the street, and make this shrub border taller. I'm not fond of how it looks a little sterile to me. I like things to be a little more billowy. And so that you would go in, and instead of planting this as a same plant all the way along in 2 different rows, you would choose maybe 3 different plants to put in there to make up your more billowy, multi colored border in that area. And then of course you can, this idea right here, this path right going in front of the house, could easily turn into a creek bed, a dry creek bed, to give more visual solidity to that natural, more natural looking landscape. So that's how you can use some of the existing renderings to help you crystallize what you would like on your own property. The Sonoma County had also done an amazing job of making all these detailed sheets for planting guides. Once again, I'd like to be able to spread the screen and show you a close-up of this, but you'll have to pull it up on your own computer. I don't know how to do that here. So, but you can't, when you pull up the site, you're going to find they will actually give you construction drawings for doing a driveway or a path. They will show you planting guides and how many plants would be needed to fill this particular area if they're 2-foot plants. They will have broken out, how do you make a rain garden or a gray water garden? It is a very extensive, detailed list of how to actually do the installation of your landscaping plans. So once you pull these guys up, you're going to be joining me with gratitude for Sonoma County Master Gardeners and the Sonoma Marin Saving Water Partnership. This is a resource that the state paid for. Your money went to this, so pull it up and have a ball. So I wanted to ask you now if you would connect again to that idea of which area in your property were you thinking about starting with, at least for this class, and what would you do in the 0 to 5-foot space to get started? Have you an idea of what kind of mulch or patios? Would this have a patio contiguous to the building? Do you want paths? In the next space, the lean green means, and I have to tell you, every time I said this talk, I would say lean green mean. So it is not that. It's clean, green, and what? Anyway, well, it's not mean. It's not mean.
Lean.
What?
Lean.
Lean, green, and clean.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, you guys are totally listening. Okay, so jot down a couple of ideas that you have. How can I turn my property now, soon, into lean, leaner, greener, and cleaner? Are there things you need to trim? Are there things you need to move? Are there things that you want to add? Or are there some sites that we've mentioned that you want to go look up and dive into some research? Okay. Oh yeah, I could have gone to the next slide and not stumbled on myself. Okay. And then in your zone 3, in the fuel reduction zone, when you're moving away from the place where the burn had happened further out, are there still trees that need some fuel reduction, some cutting out some of the interior branches or laddering up? This is how I did it in my place. You'll notice in the 0 to 5, this is actually 7 feet. In that space, I've used a patio as a walkway to the front door, and this is on the other side of the building is a patio. So that is not a flammable surface. There on another side, I'll show you in a minute. There is a correction I would make if I were doing this after I knew about Firewise landscaping. I probably would not have attached a structure for growing vines and things right next to my house. Fortunately, no vines really are growing on it because I haven't been able to get anything to grow there. Maybe the world is taking care of me. So clean space here, or non-combustible here. This is the clean green space. I've chosen to plant bulbine because it's a high water plant and I like the looks of it. And I have low water, but not very low water, sage mixed with it, and some lavender and rosemary. Those are kind of resinous plants, and sometimes they'll come up on the list of Firewise plants, and sometimes they're on the ones to avoid. So I'm going to choose them because they're there right now and they're far enough from the house. I'm not too worried about them, and they're spaced. There are spaces between them. And this again is a shot where I have used a walkway and low plants against the house, which I keep low under the windows. So they're no higher than probably, they're a little higher than 2 feet, but I'll trim them back. Oops. And then flowering perennials are spaced in the 20-foot space from the house. An island is, the roadways have created islands for me. So I have a circular drive that creates an island here, and I'll show you another one. And there's a roadway that goes in front, which acts as a fire break on this side. I've attached paths to the patio. So it again is making an island out of this planting area on the east side of the house. And over here on the east side is another wide expanse of decomposed granite with plants on the perimeter. Features for play can be part of your landscape scheme for breaking up paths of fires. In this case, I have a bocce ball court below the house, and the prevailing winds are coming this way in my property. So this breaks up one path, and above that is another path that is the road that creates the islands and makes another break. There's a list of resources, the landscape templates that I've mentioned to you. There are plant list links. The UC Arboretum's Allstars list is included here. Woo calls, I do encourage you to take a look at woo calls. It's really a good reference if you need to, because when you're putting in a new landscape, you have the opportunity to lower the water needs of your property, which is going to be a good future looking practice to embrace. So woo calls will be a good source for you on that one. There are lists of, I've included some more lists of Firewise plants for you to look up. One of them is from Pacific Northwest. Another is from San Diego. San Diego has a climate very similar to ours, except that we don't have the marine one. But you'll notice on the San Diego list, if it has an M next to it, that's Mediterranean, and you want to use that one, not the one that has a C next to it, which is coastal. And then you're going to be in the same essential zone as we are. And then there's the Cal Flora, which has a lot of native plants that would be good choices for a Firewise landscape. Okay. Boy, this is where I just threw in some stuff to remind you that there are some things that I'm really interested in. If anybody wants me to talk about them, I could be induced. This
Chats here.
oh, okay, good.
Let's
Yeah.
just see if there's some questions.
Okay, great.
Could you send us the last slide?
Yeah.
Well, we can send the whole PowerPoint. So everybody who's here, if you're not registered, if you could post your email, and you could do a private email. I see yours, Liza. Thank you. And but we can send you that PowerPoint.
And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you want to send a text and to the you could send it to the hotline, or I don't know, how would they text me?
I'm not sure.
Well, think about it. We'll get it up on some other thing, but I'm happy to answer questions. It's fun. Okay, so things that I'm, oh, this is, I guess we're over. It's not working. Okay, so the things that I'd be interested in, if anybody is interested in listening to them, would be things related to climate change and building soil, no-till gardening, biochar, creating food forests, and plant companions. So next, I think, is
Yes, next week we have Ellen Michaels will be talking about yard maintenance and post-fire care of your trees and land after. So we are going to stop the screen share now and give you a chance to ask questions. And let's see if you'd like to unmute and show us who you are, that would be awesome. So there's a question Grace has about the gray water. Grace, do you want to go ahead and unmute, and then we'll just have a conversation there?
Okay, thank you. It was just regarding the gray water. Is that gray water meaning only runoff rainwater, or actually gray water from your sinks and laundry?
Yeah, they have the gray water is from your laundry and your shower and your bathtub. It's not from your kitchen sink, but it can be from your bathroom sink. But you don't want to have kitchen sink gray water. You need a different treatment for that. That would be called black water. So, and if you look at the Sonoma site, they have very detailed plans for how to do that, or you can Google it, how to make a gray water system. And then you get free water.
Of course.
Double use.
Of course, I'm savvy to it. In our area, they don't allow it yet. But
oh, they allow it here.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, I think California is all of California is going towards allowing it. So it's probably coming your way.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Okay, thanks, Liza. Thanks for being here. So there is, we have had a workshop as well on rainwater catchment systems, which Grace, that might be more what you're thinking in. It is a system for collecting water from your rain gutters into water barrels. And we offered that a year ago. I'm not sure we have it on Zoom, however, but there is a lot of information on rainwater catchment systems, and that would be another way to be able to conserve our water.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Does anyone else have questions for Cheryl while she's here?
Well, thank you very much for coming, and good luck with your projects. I think that you'll really enjoy some of the tools that I've mentioned here.
And
Thank you.
be sure to send your email if you didn't register, so I can email you the PowerPoint.
Okay,
Thank you,
that's great. Thank you. Whoop.
Joyce.
All right, thank you. So we'll stop recording.